good husband. The water here is sweet. The pool is wide enough and deep enough to give me the space I crave. At the northern end, a stream flows in from a larger river, many miles distant. At the southern end, a tributary retreats far, far away to the ocean. There the taste changes and becomes salty, the colour murky. Fine enough for my cousins with their scaled tails and sharp nails, frilled gills and tiny teeth. Well and good for the sirens, ever more distant relatives, creatures who cannot decide between elements or even themselves, whether they are fish or fowl. Such a bitter home is not my choice though, oh no. I love this place. It's somewhere between a small lake and an overly large pond, a strange in-between thing to be sure. The important point is this: it's mine and mine alone. In some spots there are reeds, in others rocks for sitting while I comb my hair, grassy banks and a thick screen of trees providing cover from the casual onlooker. I get visitors, oh yes, but only the women at Brighton, the town beyond the trees and over one hill, nestling in a gentle valley. They come here regularly. It's mostly the unmarried girls. The Lake of Murray Morgan is a place they have claimed for themselves. They come to dance and sing and play. Before a special occasion like a wedding, they will conduct their toilettes here, washing their hair to make it shine and their skin so it glows. The water here is said to have a beautifying properties. It's true, my little kindness to them. With gifts large and small, they beg my favour, pray, cry, give thanks, rail at fate or me, whichever pops into their heads first, yearn and sometimes get what they want. If I can satisfy a request, I generally do. Sometimes I chose not to, simply so they do not take it for granted. On those occasions they seem to assume their wish was not worthy, or their offering even less so. I do quite like them, humans with their funny hearts and minds, their queerer souls. If I am honest, I find them amusing. If I am even more honest, the company they offer is worth the expenditure of magic to give them their heart's desire. I am a solitary creature, but sometimes isolation makes me ache. Seldom do I show myself nowadays. Not that I am less beautiful or less vain, but I am infinitely more tired. If they see the weariness in my face, then what prospect for them? If an ageless being looks to have lost her spark, then I speak only when I choose, and it seems to work best as a disembodied voice. Perhaps it's the godlike quality. When I do appear, it's to make a point, a scene, a statement. Sometimes a clever girl will express in front of her companions disbelief that I exist. She might stand on my favourite rocky seat, the one a long step from the shore, and declaim her cynicism. What better way to prove her wrong than to be seen, gliding over the lake, all a glimmer? Their mothers stop coming after they wed. I have often wondered if their hope dies then, or marriage was simply what they wanted. Having achieved it, they are content to chew on that same meat, but they pass the faith on to their daughters. This tall, thin woman who comes all hesitating through the trees is different though. This one I am fascinated by, oh yes. She leans down close to the liquid mirror of the lake. She has visited here since she was a little girl, always is bringing a tiny offering of some kind: flowers, sweetmeats, salted fish, embroidered pieces of rag made beautiful with her cunning stitches. She has never asked for anything in return, not ever, not even before her own wedding. The name the other girls call to her is Kitty. She sews for them. They have attired themselves in marriage in ball gowns of her making after bathing here. I have seen those very dresses wrapped in sheets and draped carefully over bushes and branches until the moment they are required. I've watched Kitty sewing them by the water's edge, smiling gently as her companions laugh and dance around her while she toils on their behalf. This day, this hour, the scars on her face are still fresh, the reddish brown of dried, scabbed blood. 2 parallel lines run across the bridge of her nose before dropping down her left cheek. She will never be pretty again, and she was pretty. I will tell you that. Large blue eyes, a doll's pouting mouth, and a hair that was most glorious, is most glorious still, yet looks like a joke now, perched on the mess of her countenance. When it first happened, she came here to weep. Blood flowed and mixed with her tears to drip into the water. That caught my attention. Grief and blood, sacrifices very few ever make, although she did not know it was for a sacrifice, and there was no one to tell her. Her friends urged her to wash the injuries in the lake, and it did some good, made the healing faster, but in truth, the scars will never be gone. There was too much force behind them, and too much spite. That's what makes them so deep, the spite. It bites not merely the flesh, but also the soul. Kitty stares at her reflection, her features set in a determined way. She peers intently as if she might be able to see me through sheer force of will. She cannot, although I lie right beneath her, studying her through the pane of water. The wounded opens her mouth and says, "Help me." Her tears start again, and I can taste their salt as they drop down, forming ripples in my home. "Help me," she repeats. "Mary Morgan, please help me." I kick away, but make no disturbance in the glassy stillness. Blood and tears she gave me already, all unknowing. For this reason alone, I must make answer to her summons. She will ask something great of me, something I may not be able to deliver. I can only throw out an obstacle for her and hope that she will give up. Rising, I become visible, walking across the surface as if it was solid. I know how I must look to her when she is so ruined. I can see my reflection in her large eyes, silver green hair, silver peach skin, eyes like a deep lake that cannot decide between blue or green or black, and a not quite stable outline. I ripple, I shimmer. My element is also my essence. In a bright light, you might even see through me. I defy the eye to focus properly. "What would you have of me?" I ask in a voice that sounds like a rushing flood. She shakes her head at this hoped-for appearance, and I can see that she did not quite believe it would happen. All these years, she has brought offerings to a creature she was not sure existed. I am both touched and vaguely annoyed. Make him kind, make him love me, make him a good husband, make my life better. Her long hands move to her scarred visage, even though she seems not to notice. She doesn't quite touch the wounds, and they must ache still, stretching tight and itching as they dry and knit. Kitty knows how much she asks. "What will you give me?" I demand, as if the dripping blood and flowing grief were not enough. Nothing can be granted without something in return, oh no. "What will you have? Ask anything," she says unwisely. A long time ago, when I loved to be seen, when I was younger, less tired, more arrogant, then, for a time, I asked for dresses. I wanted, silly conceited thing, to wear the pretty clothes the human girls did, to adorn myself like the colourful birds that nest in the trees along the banks. And the maidens brought them to me, exquisite things, almost works of art, and oftentimes more than the girls could afford. I'm fairly sure some of them dropped their own wedding dresses in. I marvelled over them as they were held above the surface, watched as the sun glinted on buttons and silken bows, crystals and beads and velvet ribbons. They looked so lovely out there in the light when they were dry. Their owners would throw these glorious gowns into my lake, and they would grow heavy and sink.